The Marketing Futurist Podcast, Episode 12. Mind-blowing inspiration to create and innovate. This is your Futurist advantage.
Welcome to the Marketing Futurist Podcast, where your hosts, Mary Catherine Johnson and Kelly Garrett, chat with innovators who are keeping the human in marketing while driving the future of tech to give all of us a futurist advantage.
I am Mary Catherine Johnson. You know who Kelly is, Kelly Garrett. And you probably know the other face that you're seeing on this video, Jaime Masters of Eventual Millionaire. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to chat with you. How you doing?
I'm amazing. Thanks so much for having me and getting my name right. I'm impressed.
You know what? I had to say Jaime 3 times to make sure I went through. Not that one, that one.
Hey, I've said my own name wrong on my podcast before, so don't. So, yeah, nope, we're right there.
I did, and you brought it up anyway.
I was impressed, just so you know.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. So I know you very well. I know Kelly knows of you very well, and many people in the audience do. But can you take us through just a real quick introduction to yourself and your current company? I know we've all done many things in our past lives, but what you do now.
Yes, I've been a business coach for over 10 years, actually. Old lady in all of this. I was offline for a very long period of time and then went online. Started writing, hated writing, started a podcast, have interviewed 400 and something millionaires now at the site eventualmillionaire.com, and take all that data and try and help business owners as best as humanly possible to be efficient and effective. So that way we don't waste all of our time doing online crap that doesn't actually work.
Yeah, that's a nice, concise introduction, definitely. And I will tell people that I was one of Jaime's mastermind attendees a while ago, and my mastermind attendees are benefiting from that knowledge. So thank you.
Yes.
So
we can't have robots right now, but we can help other people, and they'll help other people. They'll be perfect.
Yes, it's coming. It's coming.
Yes, that's right. So give us an idea, though, what this industry and business coaching and podcast, talking to millionaires, what life factors or events actually caused you to choose that industry and get into what you're doing right now, your current gig?
That's a great question. I'm a geek, super geek. I have a degree in computers in general. And so I worked in video on demand for a long time and realized how I actually liked human beings instead of staring at screens, which is funny because I'm kind of just staring at screens, but at least there's humans on the other side now comparatively to before. But I ended up making 6 figures at 22, realizing I hated that stuff and then going, now what, right? Quarter life crisis way back when. And I thought coaching was stupid, to tell you the truth, like at the very, very beginning. And so I went down this path. I ended up finding a mentor who was a business coach way back when it was not the cool thing to do, to tell you the truth. And he had sold $1 million companies before. And he sort of showed me the ways of the world of coaching. And again, middle of nowhere in Maine, like town of 2,000 people working offline was a little bit crazy. So going online, especially because I was super, super geeky, just sort of made logical sense.
Wow. Okay. So in that whole progression, and I get it, you know, we love sitting behind our computers, but yet we still want some kind of social interaction, but we want to be able to at least control that social interaction to a certain extent. But what major obstacles did you encounter along that way?
What didn't I? Sorry, I don't mean to laugh at the question, but you know what it's like, right?
Yeah, but I want to hear from you.
Oh, there's another wall. Oh, and I smack my face on it. Oh, another wall. Great. No. So some of the ones that are that are funny now, but weren't funny back then. When my blog was maybe 6 months out, right? So this might be for people that are newer. I was 6 months old. I got on CNN from a guest post, and I thought it was like the coolest thing. Like people from high school were like messaging me, right? I was on Yahoo's homepage, and my website went down. Super
Ooh.
Geek Jaime, had horrible hosting. So it went down. That's not the worst of the story. So it went down. I was miserable. It was down for like 5 days. All that traffic, didn't do anything. But I don't learn my lesson once. So really said wall, smack, face. Yes. So it happened a total of 3 times total before I actually did something. I didn't assume I would ever be on Yahoo's homepage again. 3 months later, Yahoo's homepage still didn't switch hosting company. Went down again, like the stupidest things in the world, right? And then I learned my lessons after many, many smacks to the face. And then I finally switched my hosting company. But there's like 1,000 of those. That sounds like, oh, that's too bad, Jamie. You were on CNN. Oh, that's so bad. But there's 1,000 other things. Like my mentor made me cold call 50 people every single day, right? So there's just, it's an evolutionary process of you learning as a human, smacking your face, getting back up again, and then keep going, right?
It's not a smooth ride. What?
Oh no, totally. It's like it's like a slide. It's perfect
Right.
every single time. Yeah, I wouldn't have a job if that was. I'm a business coach. This is all I do is help people with this. Seriously, they're like, Jamie, please help me. I'm like, yes, I know. Tomorrow will be better. I promise.
Yeah.
Freakouts only last so long.
But see, that's the thing. So I hear you saying that you learned your lesson to get better hosting. But I know, and I'm hoping you learned your lesson to change your mindset to go, duh, yeah, I'm going to be on Yahoo again.
I've been now on Yahoo's homepage 6 times. So yes, I did. And then I went after it. So the first few were like a fluke. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to get to know that journalist. So when my book came out, I took the journalist out to ice cream beforehand and stuff like that and got to know her really well. So when my book came out, I was like, So they flew me out. We did videos at Yahoo Studio. Yeah, it was, takes a little bit, but I learned my lesson.
Yeah, all of us, right? Wow.
Hopefully. I can't say all of us. I can't say all the time either, but still.
Yeah, but eventually, like you say, we hit our head. Eventual. Yeah, I get it. And that's what it takes. Okay, here's the thing. I am a child of this wonderful commercial. How many licks does it take to get to the center? So how many hits does it take to the head?
Right?
And are we even...
My pain tolerance is too high compared to most humans. No, seriously. I do martial arts, so it's not good. It's not good. But that's sort of the point. So thankfully, as a business coach, I can ask my clients, okay, how many times do you actually want to get hit on the head? Like you just did again. And they're like, I know, right? And you try and avoid them as much as possible, especially as a coach. Like sometimes you see it coming for clients. I've even told them that it's coming, and sometimes we're a hard-headed kind of bunch. Let's just say that. Yeah. So when you get hit over the head, you're like, okay, well, we get back up. That's what we're told to do. Hopefully we get back up. And you'll end up having a big old bump. And after a while, you'll learn, right? It's the way of the world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wow.
Hopefully.
So thinking about what you've done, this is the Marketing Futurist Summit. So thinking about what you've done, how many of those things those lessons that you learned, would you say really prepared you and made you start looking forward for the next lesson so that you wouldn't hit your head so hard? Right?
Well, if I could predict the future, this would be so much easier. We're working on that still,
I'm asking,
right?
Please. No, go ahead.
Oh, you have no. So we have to clone. First, we time machine. Then we can get cloning. Then, you know what I mean? I have a list. Don't get me wrong. I really do. No. So we've had way too many discussions on what needs to happen first. Yeah. So what's interesting is you don't know what you don't know, right? And so what you try and do as best you can is learn from other people that have, right? Ideally. So I have a board of mentors right now because I was getting too much advice from too many different people. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that's really tough. Not tough, but I'm very, very lucky in that lots of people wanted to give me advice, especially when I was first starting. But I kept taking too much advice from too many different channels and they only knew my business like this. And so now I have a board of mentors where they can decide one track and move forward on that. So I try and do that as best as possible because if I don't know what I don't know, just moving forward, I assume what I'm doing is right? Like I feel like I'm pretty smart, right? I've seen a lot of things, but there's a lot that I don't know. And to have somebody else looking at that and being able to see some of the rocks ahead, really, really helpful.
Wow. How do I get one of those?
Right.
That's all I care about.
Sign me up.
Ask.
Yeah, no. You do. Yeah, I get it. We could do a whole show on that, which I know you have done. I know you have done that. But so that's a great way to, well, not necessarily future-proof yourself, but give yourself that futurist advantage. Yeah, to get people who've been ahead of where you are. And I think we'd like to take the next step in not just getting ahead of where you are, but really looking to the future of the industry, because they don't know the future either, right? You know, we would love those wonderful cloning, and I definitely would love the Jetsons, you know, to have that wonderful maid do everything for me. I'm trying to get that. So
We have to use humans for now and Roombas, and that's about it. No.
Right.
So one of my mentors on the board of mentors is a futurist, actually.
Nice.
And he actually helps I want to be a futurist when I grow up, right? So he actually helps Fortune 100 companies understand where things are changing technology-wise, and especially because large companies take a while before they can implement this stuff. So even just 3D printing, which we don't even talk very much about. I know for marketing, it's not necessarily the piece, but there's so many other things with big data and stuff on our industry side that's going to be changing, and people have no clue what's coming, especially with the speed of technology. It's nuts.
Right. So can I pause and take you back for a second? You said this guy's a futurist. Just for those who might not know, like, are you talking strength finders?
No, he's literally a futurist.
Okay. Wow.
On his website, it says future. So
I was just thinking, like, how does one know if they're a futurist? I've taken the strengths finders test, and I'm identified as a futurist through that.
So, okay, I've asked this question before. I have asked, so I want to be a futurist. Strengths finder, yes, I'm a futurist also. But that's not enough.
But yeah, right.
Exactly. Unfortunately. Darn. So in my head, not even in my head, you can't technically call yourself a futurist, right? Like, I'm a futurist. It's awesome. If you're going to be giving other people advice. So, I mean, you can. Nothing going to hurt. You can call yourself anything you want. You're a marketer. You can do whatever you want. But I asked him specifically, how do I actually get called that? And he said, predict things. I'm like, how do I do that? Right? So that's why when I spoke at Podcast Movement, I was the keynote, and I go, I will speak as long as I can call it the future of podcasting. They're like, sure. So I interviewed and got data from a bunch of people that were big in the industry and asked them a ton of questions and tried to predict whatever I could based on what they said.
Nice. Yeah.
So you are totally going that direction. I mean, this is really your plan of action.
I'm a geek. Again, I read this stuff for fun, like robots and stuff. I like that. They're like way too much. So yeah, so the marketing side too, of course. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, and again, this isn't for a while, but imagine our email lists, right? With all the gosh darn tagging and copywriting and all that stuff. Imagine somebody smarter, i.e. a robot, data-driven, that goes, oh, at this time, this is when they actually open their emails. We send this to them at that time, right? When the subject line says something like this, that's when we send this, right? So the information and the data that we're starting to gather is going to change the way we do what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, you're just
Speechless.
blowing my
Good.
mind. Oh my gosh. Okay, so where I see you headed then is really taking that data and collecting all the data that we have with all the interactions that we have with our audience, with our prospects, with our customers, with on social media, in email, all those different things. Taking that data, analyzing it, having a wonderful bot or computer crunch it, and then tell us what to do with it to have the highest effect.
Yes. And it's harder to do when it's just you or a small company.
Right.
But big companies are doing this like all heck right now. And they're still, even now their software, it's not great. And it's really, really expensive. So most small businesses can't do this. So the hard thing is that the big companies, they can do this, and they're going to, unfortunately or fortunately, they're going to start to crush us.
Yeah.
And we have to be paying attention to that because we can't collect enough data ourselves. Like, yes, I can go ahead and ask a bunch of people, but that's not what the future is turning into on that side. And so I'm not saying that we can do anything specifically of trying to like integrate, okay, this person opened that email then, but that's where things are going 10, 15 years from now. That's going to sort of be the norm. And hopefully it'll be a lot cheaper for people like us to be able to use stuff like that too. Hopefully, because I have to hire copywriters right now because I'm not great at that. And I'm really like, not that they're not amazing people, but can't we have somebody else? Can't we have robots do some of that stuff? Not yet anyway.
Right.
Wow. So
yeah.
we can do that though with our little small lists compared to those huge companies. The data is just not going to be as, significantly or, statistically correct. because we have a smaller sampling. But we can start doing that, looking at our own lists and seeing when people do whatever they do, and go from there. I mean, we can try and give ourselves an advantage in that respect. So what...
please do, people. Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Please, if that's the way it's going,
Please.
hello, futurists out in the audience, listen up. So what... Besides the data crunching, is there anything else that you see as the future of marketing specifically?
What's so interesting, and this is what, so my mentor, his name is Nicholas Webb. He wrote a book. He wrote many books. One of them is called What Customers Crave. What he talks about is how advertising in general is going to be gone, right? Because we're going to have these powerfully driven communities of people that are connected that are sort of ruling the world. Thank goodness we're in this space, so it works out well. But you guys know that, I'm sure everybody listening knows this too. The bigger the list, the bigger and it's not even the list size, because if they don't open your emails, it doesn't necessarily matter. Mm-hmm. But the bigger the engagement on that, if people trust me, they're going to trust me or YouTube craziness. Like my children watch YouTube like nuts, and they're like, oh, this is amazing. I'm like, this is just some random kid. Like, why are we trusting his opinion, right?
Yeah.
But that's the way of the future. And so a lot of my clients, yes, we do paid advertising for sure. But a lot of my clients, when we can actually align with people that have that trust in community form, it's way more powerful than it is just to be one of many pixeling everybody. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Not that you should do that too, but you should totally pixel them also. But still, start with the community side. And it's just going to keep going and keep going and keep going.
And you pixel them so you can get them in your community, so that then you can pixel them again and get in your community higher. And and
hopefully engage so they actually trust you, so they'll actually buy stuff from you. But that's way more short term too, right? So longer term, we're going to have devices in our bodies that we see like Google and craziness, right? I know. Oh, I'm going to be one of them.
She's signing up. Go ahead. Put it in there.
Not alpha, but beta or something like that.
Right.
He said that at one of his events. He was like, who here would be okay with putting, some form of tech in their body? And there was like maybe 6 of us. And we're like, yeah, totally. And he's like, you guys are the way of the future. And I was like, good, we'll be dead soon, because apparently it's not going to work. No. but there's, with nanobots, with the technology that we're working on. Have you ever heard the singularity in general?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So like the speed of technology, and I worked for an internet company when I was 16. And so I was dial-up way back when. And it's so funny, makes me feel old also, but it's so funny to see the speed of technology to where we are now. Like the iPhone's 10 years old. Yeah. 10 years old.
Yeah.
So imagine 10 years from now, or 20, like when my kids are older, 20 years from now, things are going to be completely different. In, I'm assuming, a good way. Robots hopefully won't take over the world. But knowing that that's coming, I think, is extremely important for small business owners, because we're so stuck in the weeds of this. Like, this is where we are, and I live in a little box until the day comes out and you're like, oh, Facebook ads don't work, or this doesn't work, or this doesn't work. You always have to be paying attention to the future. So I'm so glad you're doing this on.
We are, because I agree. We were talking beforehand that Kelly and I have both just been thrust into this world, and we've embraced it, and we've seen so many amazing things change so quickly that really we have to try and stop our heads from spinning and focus. So with that in mind, all those things you're talking about, tech in our bodies and the singularity and all that, what are some of the pitfalls that you see coming in this wonderful future you're painting for me? I'm being facetious and not thinking it's wonderful.
That's why like Elon Musk now has the board and stuff. They're like, don't create AI that will,
I know. It's scary to think about.
So it is. And I'm an optimist, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of stuff like that in general. But to me, when we're looking, especially on the marketing side, there's going to be a lot smarter people hopping on this bandwagon. So what I love in general, because I'm old right now, I've seen a lot of different trends in marketing, right? So way back when it was like, Facebook is so cheap. I wasn't in on the Google ad cheapness, but then YouTube ads so cheap. Now it's messenger bots. Awesome, right? So you take what you can get when you can get it. And there's a sub slice of like, oh, now it's cheap. Oh, wait, the bandwagon hopped on. right? And what's difficult is a lot of people won't notice that part, right? So, for example, I'll have clients and they'll be like, oh, the ad spend is getting crazy and blah, blah, blah. But then they'll be like, oh, it must be the holidays. Oh, it must be this. Oh, it'll come back, right? Like it's going to come back, right? And maybe in different subsets, like I have clients in Spain and their Facebook traffic, super cheap still, but where we are now, not so much, right? And it's getting more. And so being able to see those trends and then pivot and change and accept that, because the world will continue to change. And what I've seen is a lot of people that are like, but I found it, the holy grail. And we hold on to things like this, right? And that's not AI taking over the world, but that's a small business owner going, no, it's still, I got this. And they don't want to have to necessarily continue to evolve. And that's what I see. Unfortunately, people not necessarily making more money, right? They're starting to go because they're holding too tightly to what they thought worked before instead of actually moving with the tides.
So it's kind of like they asked a question, they got an answer of where they should go, and they held on to that answer, but the question changed.
Such is life and everything, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
we change as humans too. So it is what it is.
Keep asking the questions, keep accepting answers and changing and adapting and iterating and all those wonderful words that we use every day in our lives.
See, and what's so interesting, so I've interviewed so many millionaires.
Yeah.
And again, I came from offline marketing and all that fun stuff. And then came online. Most people are like, oh, you're the online girl. I'm like, no. I was like sending out postcards with my clients and stuff, like cold calling, right? And so what's interesting is to sort of see the blend of the two, because I think they can both interact really, really well. But like you said, marketing is sort of like a box, and you're trying to like fill the box and trying to figure out what will actually fill it, right? So when you're looking at new marketing tactics, you have to run tests, and every business should continually test, because that's the thing. Like you said, the question will change, and you're like, oh, if you didn't actually keep testing, then your stuff didn't work. And either you have to hold on tight to the stuff that you worked before, or you have to have a gap, which is not good for any business. Usually like, oh crap, that's not working. I can't do that. Now I have to do this. Yeah. If you don't know the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, it's never ending, right? It's not like we can set it and forget it and be like, oh, ta-da, we're done, unfortunately. Or if you love marketing, fortunately, right? Or if you're selling this stuff, totally fortunately.
But then
with testing, don't you think so many people fall into the trap of, well, what do I test? Or I don't have anything yet to do. It's like, no. Now is the time to start. You have to start before you even have something.
Well, it's so funny so for me, I just tell people what to test. So I just tell people what to do all day long. Well, I have, thankfully, I have a lot of data from a lot of other clients on what's working right now. That's one of the reasons why I really like doing what I do. Because I can go, ooh, this worked over here. Let's try this over. And like the randomest niches, like I'm in timber and organic chemistry and like random weird stuff, right? Oh, I've got the craziest clients.
Fun.
Amazing, but crazy. Yeah. So every time it's different, right? But you can pull from each different subsection and go, ooh, that worked over here. Let's try this over here. And so that's helpful, especially in any test, right? Because you have to prioritize the test too. You can't go, I'm just going to try everything, right? Number one, you're just pouring money down the drain most of the time. Most entrepreneurs in general don't actually pay attention to their metrics anyway. So they'll run a test and you'll be like, oh, did it work? They'll be like, I think so. And you're like, well, did you look at the numbers to see if it actually worked? No. Oh, well, I couldn't. And then things happen. I'm like, literally, you're wasting money. I've had people actually look at the numbers after the fact. And some of them were like, wow, that was really great. Some of them were like, I thought it was really good. And the numbers were horrible. And they were still going to continue to put more money into it. Data does not lie. And so ideally, we want to do these tests that's statistically significant enough so we can level them up so we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel every time. So it shouldn't be an ever evolve, like things last for a certain period of time and we scoop it up as much as we possibly can while it lasts. So I'm not saying like we have to do tests every single second and change every month or anything like that. We want to level up the stuff that works. But if you don't know what your numbers are, then you don't actually know what works and therefore you can't do that. Make sense?
Right.
Totally.
I will go on tangents about metrics, just so you know.
Well, I think we would love that, because that's basically what we're finding now too, right, Kelly, with bots. So you test, Facebook ads, JSON ads, maybe they worked, maybe they didn't work. Now the best thing is the whole Facebook comment. So they're commenting, and then you boost that post, and it's the cheapest, and it has the most reach and all that kind of stuff. And in probably a month, that's going to change, because that's how bots are. They don't stay the same for very long. So what really drives you nuts about this stuff? What drives you nuts about this? Not just being a futurist, but about the industry and where we're headed or where we've been. Just, what drives you nuts about this stuff?
All right. You asked for it.
I did.
Where's my soapbox? So, okay. And this is a bit of a bane of my existence. So stop me if I just go on a tangent too long for this. Because I come from old school offline business, we talk about business models first. And unfortunately, when we are online, and because most entrepreneurs are little shiny object syndrome, they're like, oh, look, I want to try this. They don't actually have a business. I know. So one of the reasons why I never was the podcast girl, like I will teach people, but I've never had a podcast product or anything like that, because it's a marketing tactic. Yeah. And unfortunately, people sell, just like in internet marketing in general, they will sell a marketing tactic as if that is a business. Mm-hmm. It is not. It is not. So when we don't understand what we're building to begin with, and that we're solving a need that is important and necessary, so we fit, so people will actually pay you money, right? Unless you're just going for sponsorship or whatever, that's a very different subset. It takes a long time to build a huge audience that actually makes money on sponsorships, just saying. So most people will just go out there and go, I'm going to build it and they will come, right? I'll build this marketing channel and then I'll figure out what to sell them. And what I found, and again, I have opinions. So if you guys don't agree, I totally get that. But
go for it.
A tangent, right? What I found is a lot of people will then email me and go, but I have this list. I don't know what to sell them. And there's different subsections. There's no one avatar. They're like, well, it's sort of about this stuff. And then they can't find something to actually sell them. So service side, we can usually find something at a more higher price than a digital program or whatever. I don't sell digital programs in general. But having little subsections, and they're like, well, I emailed my list and I didn't get any sales. Well, it only pertained to 10% of them maybe. And that's really rough. So when we go after solving a problem that's very specific to a specific avatar and then look for that, I personally do betas and sell it before. I just did a beta the other day. I didn't totally know what I sold. I was like, yes. Well, I think if you were in the first Hustlers, that I sold you guys even before I had anything.
That's
so
right.
yes. I will sell it, prove the model first as best as humanly possible, and then level that up. Again, I am such a tester. I don't want to do anything. I'm a single mom of 2 kids, right? I don't have time for stuff. Yeah. So you have to take that. And unfortunately, because we're shiny object and because we love consuming information, we will learn every marketing tactic known to man, do maybe half of some things. I was about to swear. I tried to stop myself. Like parts of each, and then be like, I have a business. And that's not really where you start. So anyway, everybody's just selling this. I shouldn't say snake oil, because if you have, we were just talking about how trends matter, especially if you have a business. But if you don't technically have a business that actually sells stuff, hopping on trends does nothing for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Tangent
absolutely,
over. Okay.
No, it absolutely does. And I agree with you. There was a span of time in internet life where that's really what people were selling was just build a list and they will come, and just build your list and then send out questions and find out what they need and then they'll buy it from you. Right?
Yeah, so, and I failed at that. I failed at that. Wall, smack. Yeah. Yep.
I failed at it. I tried it. Yeah, let's do that. Jumped on that bandwagon. No, it doesn't work. So
my mentor was like, this isn't really, I'm like, but this is what the internet people say.
Yeah.
And I did it.
And so many people are making huge money with that. And it's just, they're helping so many people. Bull honky. So, it's totally true. I get it. I agree 100%. And internet marketers out there, listen up. If you don't have a business first, it doesn't matter what shiny object comes your way. Build the business first. then look at that shiny object and see if it really is shiny or not, and whether it's a squirrel you want to follow down that hole. Oh my gosh, yes.
I swear, I get paid very, very, very well for just going, that's a distraction, don't do that. That might be an opportunity. Nope, it's a distraction. Nope, that's all. Seriously, we need that. I need that too. I can't say anything.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid, my mastermind right now, I'm getting paid to tell people what you told me to do way back then, a couple of years ago. Turn off your notifications. Stop it. Mm-hmm. Stop consuming. Start producing.
Yes. Oh, I did a speech over in Thailand, and I made everybody raise their phones up. Right? Like, oh, does everyone have a phone? They're like, oh, I totally have a phone. And I was like, oh, do you have like Facebook on? Blah, blah. They're like, oh, I totally do. I was like, delete it right now. I dare you. Like, everyone's like, and I'm putting my phone away. Well, you noticed.
I don't have a phone. What's she talking about phone?
I know.
Yeah.
If people raise their hand, I'm like, how many people actually did it? You can always reinstall it. It's not like the end of the world for a day.
But they feel.
Yeah, it was literally maybe 5% of the audience that would actually do it and test it. But it does make a huge difference because we are unfocused humans. We have 1,000 things coming at us, and it's hard to do it on our own. So deleting stuff definitely helps. Turning off notifications times 10.
Yeah.
Sure.
That one thing, doing that one thing has helped tremendously just to be able to focus. So I'm here to say thank you very much. And many people I talk to are here to say thank you very much, even though they think I'm a witch with a B.
Right?
They really
I was
do.
like, you'll hate me now, you'll love me later. That's what
They do. They look at me like, I can't do it. I just can't. It's like, it's attached to their hand. So, yeah.
Well, we're addicted to our tech. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I'm so thankful we have cell phones. I'm so thankful we can connect. When I lived in the middle of nowhere, I interviewed millionaires. And I lived in a town of 2,000 people, right? So I'm so thankful for what we have. And as things go, especially with like my kiddos, I have to be paying attention though, that we actually have to live life, right? We aren't robots yet where we're uploading our consciousness. So therefore we actually have bodies and lives and human beings that we can interact with, sometimes on screen, sometimes in real life. And so being able to mitigate that so we're not so addicted, because I've noticed it too. It's sad. My parents have a camp, middle of nowhere in Maine. There's no internet. And I don't know how many times I pick up my phone. Like, and then go and check email. It's not going to, it doesn't do anything. And I'm like, oh, it's so sad, but true, right? You're like, that is an addiction. Like I cannot stop clicking on the thing because I don't like being able to sit with my own nothingness, right? This is why I meditate every single day. Yep. But I'm trying to explain that to my clients, and they've been more and more and more. I'm talking about meditation. I'm talking about being addicted to your cell phone, right? And that's the stuff that we're actually paying way more attention to, thank goodness, now, because when it's unconscious, you don't even know what you're doing, and you're wasting so much time without even realizing it. Again, tangent.
And what I think is so fascinating about that is that, as technology increases and as we're becoming more and more addicted, the need for things like meditation and yoga and those kinds of things increases as well. Because it's, 10 years ago, meditation? What? Are you nuts? And now it's so common and something that everybody should be doing. It's just, I find that.
So I do have a Muse neurofeedback device while I'm meditating. So I have 2 phones because I have to have my guided meditation. I'm kind of crazy. My children will even go, I can tell you didn't meditate today. Like they know when I have and when I haven't.
Yeah, well, then there great. You go. Yeah. Well, and it's kind of a pendulum swing, isn't it? Right. So the farther over here on our tech and in our connected lives we are, the farther over on the other pendulum we have to swing in order to at least come somewhere into the middle, to be able to exist and be productive human beings in both business and personal. So you have tech even in your meditation.
Totally. I can't use, Muse actually sent me one to test. I'm a super geek, right? So I've hacked it so I could see my brain waves and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, that's what I do in my spare time. But what's interesting is that I don't want the neurofeedback anymore. I used to beforehand. I will actually turn it down. I like the logs that I get. And it does like little rewards, right? Gamification, which is cool. But I don't actually like the feedback. Have you guys ever do you know what it does or anything like that?
I do know what it does.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't tried it.
This is really fun. I bring them to we run retreats with my mastermind also here in Austin. And I'll be like setting people up with tech. I have my crazy meditation bench. We have nootropics. We have all sorts of craziness.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone's like, okay, what did I get myself into? Yeah.
Yeah,
They trust me before they come in.
Joey and Joelle and Scott didn't warn me about that one.
Right? Oh, Joey, when he hit 1 million, I sent him this meditation bench, right? But it looks like a T. I usually, like Noah Kagan, you guys know Noah, was at my house. And I go, I dare you to figure out how to sit on this. And he actually got it. But most don't. Most do not. Everyone's like, I'm not sure because it's round and weird, and right? But I have extra bones in my body, so I need something like that. I know I'm weird also. But being able to have the consistency and the neurofeedback, especially for people that are entrepreneurs, because most people that I suggest, I don't always tell people what to do. Sometimes I suggest. When I say anything having to do with meditation, all of them, super successful people are like, I can't do that. I was like, I used to say that too. Yeah. I know. You can't turn off your brain. And when we can't turn off our brain, we just assume that that's just sort of the way it is. And that's not true. Of course you can. You can practice anything and get better at it. But we're addicted to this. And we just assume that that's just the way we are. And it is. Don't get me wrong. Like after all this many interviews, we're an interesting bunch of entrepreneurs. Our ADD, craziness, like we're constantly thinking, which is usually an asset. I think it's a huge asset. And what we need more than anything just about is to be able to shut that gosh darn thing up, right?
Yeah. Otherwise we burn out. It's like a machine. It's like any other machine. Yep. You're going to burn it up.
So how often do you guys meditate? And it's not even a time thing, but yes, go ahead.
Daily. I probably miss maybe twice a week sometimes, depending on what's
So what do
going
you
on.
do? Like I usually suggest like Headspace or something like that at first.
That's what I do. Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Headspace.
I do Headspace, but I have to say I can't. I've tried like up to 20 minutes. I have not been able to train myself. I won't say I can't. Thank you, Jamie. I have not been able to train myself to get to 20 minutes yet. 15 is as far as I've gotten so far. So far.
So when are you going to do 20?
Let me know. Let me go.
Tomorrow then.
When I get amused, I'm going to get amused. Then I can geek out about it and see what amazing effect it's giving me, and then I will be motivated and blah blah blah.
Yeah. Oh, is that what you need? Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk. I won't turn the table on you right now, but
no. Hey, wait a minute. Let's keep this focused. I got you now.
I have a very hard time not telling people what to do, apparently. I'm so sorry.
Tell me all you want, babe. Let me tell you, because I want to get wherever I can go. Really,
that's amazing, right?
It's not a get wherever we can go. It is really a make it as easy, as comfortable, as adaptive as we can possibly get.
Yes.
And that's what that does. I get it. I promise.
Daily's impressive. I am impressed. Most people, when I say, wait, how much they're like, what? Right?
Yeah.
Habitual stuff is great.
It is. It's hard. It's really hard for me. It's
seriously.
Totally...
I was like a 3-minute, I had to lay down, like my kids were babies. I've been meditating for like 10 years. I couldn't, and then I'd be so exhausted, I just fall asleep instead, right? So I get it. No, it takes a lot. It definitely. So, yeah. Now people think I'm crazy, right? But it's built over time, just like everything else.
It does.
Right.
Yep.
Right. It's a skill.
Yep. So I know we have to kind of wind this down a little bit. We could get in all kinds of other tangents. I would love to, but we can do that another time. But so we're looking for tools or tips or ideas that will help all of us in the audience basically have a futurist advantage for our marketing and our business. What is your tool or tip? How can we do that?
No. So you said a lot of people already said like software and stuff like that. So I'm not going to say like that stuff. There's 2 books actually. Okay. You can get them on Audible. So that way you actually listen to them. Right. So, we have a beginner's guide. Has anybody said anything about Abundance by Peter Diamandis?
No.
Okay. So have you guys read it?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
So Abundance is sort of like the the beginner piece. Or Bold by Stephen Kotler is another one. It helps you understand how the speed of technology is moving and where we're going. And it's kind of crazy when you start to look at it, like what 2040 will be like, right? Because when we look back at 19 whatever, there was nothing. Like we now have the capacity with one cell phone that people in the White House way back when didn't, right? You can be in the middle of nowhere, which is amazing. And it's also kind of scary to start looking forward and going, oh, okay. So we talk about nanobots and stuff, but what is that actually going to look like? So Abundance and Bold are sort of the primers. If you want to go next level crazy, the book is very thick. It's called The Singularity by Ray Kurzweil, which is also good. He also has a documentary, so it's a little easier to digest. So that's on the futurism side. That will talk about technology. Because if you can get, there's even Singularity University that sort of talks about business and where things are changing in tech. So you can not be so far behind the curve that we aren't there, right? And we get left behind. So that's
nice.
One subsection. But then since we talked about meditation so much, there's a really quick book called Untethered Soul, which I read many years ago. I've read it 3 or 4 times now, which is really about sort of shutting off your thought and sort of going with the flow a lot more, which is unfortunately hard for entrepreneurs to do. Yet we are all told, enjoy the journey. And you're like, easy to say, harder to do, right? Especially when we're like this.
Yes.
Right. And so that book is sort of a primary piece to go, oh, okay. Because our thoughts create what we do, our actions, which then create our lives, right?
Yes.
Our personality and what we're deciding on is a lot of it habitual. So like if your parents, blah, blah, I know we talk about beliefs and stuff, but it's mostly just thoughts that are habitual, right? So if we can learn to turn it off, we can change those things. That makes sense?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Change in the future.
You know, Kelly, isn't it amazing? Every single time we talk to these incredible people, my mind, I just want to sit here and go,
I
really?
know. And that's what I am doing. I'm just like, wow.
Absorbing.
I need. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Jamie, thank you so much for sharing this. I cannot wait for the future to come. I will be optimistic and a little bit pessimistic. I don't know about nanobots in my skin. That one's making my skin crawl a little. So let's see, literally and figuratively.
We'll talk when you're 80 and we'll see what you say, right? You'll be like, sure, clean all that stuff up and make me live longer. Perfect. Sold.
Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll be one of those in the future movie that's, walking with the cane going, I ain't having none of that stuff in my body. Yeah. Yeah. We'll
and
see.
yet you're like, I'm going to get amused. So you text me.
All right. That's enough. No more calling me on my stuff.
The first step.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a blast. I can't wait to chat with you again sometime in the future. We appreciate so much that you've given. It's been amazing.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Jamie.
You guys are awesome, and I love laughing with you and learning. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Get your Futurist advantage by joining our Facebook group at marketingfuturist.co/group and tune in for our next journey into the future of marketing.